Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.
I'd first like to ask you about the two latest records, The Zone and Cubist. And I really enjoyed the trio you have, with Jeff Johnson and John Bishop. And The Zone, it's incredible. Yeah. It's, and I just wanted to ask you, how did The Zone happen, actually, like this recording?
Well, we were playing a club in Canada, Edmonton, Canada, called Yardbird Suite. We played there.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
wherever on the West Coast touring, we would play there. And this came off a house recording.
Oh wow!
This was like off the board,
Yeah.
Single track, or maybe even dual, but I think it was single track. And I really never gave it that much of a listen. And one day I thought, just let me see what this sounds like. And I didn't recognize who was playing. I said, who the fuck is playing piano on this? And because we were really, totally into The Zone,
Yeah.
And I thought, geez, after Cubist, I had thought I'm through with recording.
Yeah.
I'm done with it. But when I heard this, so the challenge was for John Bishop and Jeff Johnson, who handle all the finer aspects of recordings to maximize whatever sound. The sound's not great.
No, but it's okay. Yeah. For a live one, I guess.
Yeah, it's not great, but the music I thought deserved to be heard.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because it's a working band, right, with these two guys for a really long time, right?
Oh, 10 years, 11 years.
Wow.
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff was a lot than that, because Jeff was with me with my trio in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I was. So we had a long time relationship, and he and John had been playing together for 20 years.
Yeah.
By the time I got John on the band. And it was magic, I didn't have to tell him anything.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of guys I like to play with.
Yeah, sure.
They just followed me real good,
Yeah. This is what I wanted to ask you. Like, you have this kind of, I listened to the record like a couple of times, and also the previous one, Cubist, because it's basically the same compositions, right? And
yes.
And it's like with the trio, you kind of go tempo-wise and groove-wise. You just move. Like, if it kind of slows down, you kind of you know what I mean? It's like.
Oh yeah. We're listening. It's a listening band. Everybody,
how did you guys develop that?
We're in the zone. That's what we were playing kind of regular rubato style up until we recorded Origin Revisited.
Yeah.
And on that album, all of a sudden, as soon as we started playing, we went into the zone as a group, which is, you can't really get into the zone all by yourself.
Yeah.
If you're playing with other people.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be there. And that was the beginning of our ability to get into the zone at the snap. As soon as we put your hands on the instrument, we're there.
Yeah.
So I remember we were playing Birdland in New York on this beautiful 9-foot concert grand piano, and it was the first set, and the crowd is all around, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the keyboard and I'm saying, "Oh my God, I've got nothing but options."
Wow, that's beautiful, man.
Where do I start? And then I thought, well, just start.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and everybody would click right in. Automatically.
Yeah.
So the zone is a different kind of animal,
Yeah.
We were playing a concert in upstate New York, at a college, and it felt like this. I walked up on the bandstand and I walked off.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
One of those gigs. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
no, every gig was like that. Once you get in the zone, what happens in the zone stays there.
Wow. Yeah.
But what you do take off from it is this joy of having sailed. It's the process that's the fun, you know, not the end product, you know. So, and I asked John, I said, John, didn't we just play an hour and a half? You know? He said, yeah, but you don't have time for luxury in it, you know.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So and I've written, I'm working on a book of essays, and one of the essays is about the zone.
Yeah,
and,
I wanted to ask you about,
how it works in your brain and how you get there and what's going on inside and all that stuff. That's pretty interesting. So that's basically how, I mean, we've been trying to get into it. Frankly, the albums all leading up to Origin Revisited, I mean, they were nice. They were nice. They were good. We had the group interaction, but the music was taking us.
Okay.
Which was, we didn't play with intent. We didn't put ourselves on the music. We let the music take us. And that was when the music really started to take us where it wanted to go, not where we wanted to go, you know?
Yeah, but like with this trio, do you guys, like, you know, when you had like a tour, like, or a longer, some concert period, do you always achieve the zone or not always?
I'm sorry?
Like with this trio, like when you play a couple of concerts, do you always achieve to get into the zone or no?
I'm not sure I understand what you just said.
Yeah, I mean, like, is it like every concert of you guys together, right?
Yeah.
Are there concerts where you kind of cannot blend together, or that's really rare, right, with this trio?
No, it's just instant. We click, boom.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, like, I love how you guys, you know, how Jeff follows you always. Also, and I mean, both of these guys, yeah, it's incredible.
And he's an eighth note behind me.
Yeah.
Which is where he's supposed to be.
No, it's really, it's so good to see you guys. So, you know, that you're still doing it with so much. And I just wanted to ask you about the trio before I go to Cubist. What is the repertoire of the band? Like, how many tunes do you have? Like, let's say that you just take it, or.
You mean repertoire? Are you asking about repertoire?
Yeah, like how many songs? I mean, do you usually agree on a set list, or just kind of go from a tune to tune that you know?
Well, you know, presentation, no matter what kind of music you're playing, is important. So
yeah.
And my primary, other than groove, my primary interest is other than the spirit of the music, I should say. My primary interest is communicating with the audience. Yeah. Without that, then it makes sense. We can't get into the zone without that.
Yeah. Makes sense.
The audience has a lot to do with it. Well, you have to forgive me. Like I said, I'm 82, and
oh, you're amazing, man! Seriously,
I tend to wander a little bit.
No, I love that. Just wander. Right. It's like a solo improv.
So you're gonna have to pull me back. So I do have a set program that we do, but my God, we have recorded so many tunes. That I could just start any one of them and they'd be right there because all the music is in.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Yeah.
We never play with. It's against my philosophy to have music on the bandstand.
Yeah, that's smart actually. Yeah. With notes, you cannot really get in the zone, like you say. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. If you're reading, if you're looking, you're not listening. See?
Yeah, it's true actually. Yeah, I noticed this with myself also. You know, if you're just there, you're not. Yeah, makes sense.
You know, if you're watching like CNN, and you're reading the tape underneath, you can't hear what they're saying.
Yeah, you're focused.
If you listen to what they're saying, you can't read the tape. Yeah. The brain can only do one thing at a time, but it can do a million different things.
Yeah.
You know, but only one of those things. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you about Cubist also. You know, when Jerry
Ah,
Bergonzi joined the band, I mean, for that session, I mean, he's like, you know, I see you guys, the trio, as a cake, and Bergonzi is like this whipped cream on top, and it's what did the dynamics of the trio change in what sense, like when he came?
well, we've done, I think, 3, 4 albums with Jerry,
Yeah,
and I don't want to play trio anymore. I just want to play quartet with Jerry. I, I just, I just love his playing, and we just spark each other.
yeah,
We were telling musical jokes and puns, musical puns, and exchanging licks, and it's just I play better when Jerry's there.
yeah. Okay.
I do
No, he's
have
an
my
incredible
own.
player. Yeah.
I have my self-interest involved, um, but Jerry has his playing has really evolved. Just what he's doing with tone
Yeah, yeah,
is just he's not focusing on ideas now as much as he is on tone, you know.
yeah.
And it's just the thing. I don't hear anybody doing that. Anybody. So when Jerry's with us, there's always magic. Always. Never have to say anything. He loves the way I comp. You know, he's never told me how to comp. We just don't talk about the music, which is
That's
great.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when did you meet Jerry, by the way? Like, when was that?
Oh, way back when. In the 90s. Well, I knew
90s
him
probably.
before that. I can't remember our first meeting.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the 90s when I was doing all the touring from 90 to 2000,
Yeah.
Jerry did a bunch of tours with us, and we did a bunch of, released a bunch of albums. You know.
Yeah. 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 It's incredible. Like, but he's
And
such a
he
great.
said he told me he wanted to learn how to play rubato. And I told him, man, you're already playing it. You just don't know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. And when it came to the recording, it was just, you know, no separation. It was a one. It was
One
a
room
whole.
up. Yeah. Yeah. And everything. Yeah. That's
So,
that's
and I
beautiful.
love comping behind him too.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's such. These two records are so good. You know, like. You know, I knew, like, first of all, when I found out about you, like, you know, the 70s work that you've done, those iconic albums that I would like to talk about, at least iconic for me, definitely. And then I found out about these two records that you did, like that what we talked now, and I was just like, damn, man, it's, you know, you're burning still, and it's incredible. So that's like really, I can do just like that, you know.
No, get out of here, man. We're all learning. Never
Yeah, I know,
stops.
but still. But talking about like piano trios, we talked before. Can I ask you about your album artwork with Reggie Workman and Rashid Ali? It's you know, I listened to so much about you, and it's so funny, like how it's again a trio, you know, a piano, drums, and bass trio, but like it's completely different. And you know, I just wanted to ask you, like, first of all, how did that trio happen, and how was it like for you to play with those two guys?
I got to play and record with Coltrane's rhythm section. Are
Yeah, I
you
know.
kidding?
Yeah,
And that period, I was really researching Coltrane very heavy, you know,
okay.
because he never talked about how he practices, which is one of the things I'm always looking for from the great masters.
Yeah.
How did they practice, you know?
Yeah.
And Coltrane never talked about the music, so I was very much into that. And Reggie and I go way back to Bradley's in New York.
New York,
we played
yeah.
duos.
Oh, yeah. Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, when they had a Fender Rhodes there before the piano.
Yeah.
So I knew his playing from then, and he was also teaching with me. He was on the faculty of the New School.
New School, exactly. Yeah.
So I knew him. I mean, we got to see each other a lot there. And then I got to meet Rashid Ali, which was just he played the way I heard it in my head.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I put a little tour together.
Oh, so it
And,
was like a tour. Wow.
oh, well, I don't record without it. I don't like to do, first of all, studio recordings.
Yeah, yeah,
I need the people there. And if you don't get the same spirit,
yeah.
and there's no chance to do for second takes.
Exactly.
Because second takes never work.
Oh, they suck always. I mean, more or less.
Yeah, so I'd rather live with. I'm a warts and all kind of guy. I'd rather live with my mistakes.
Yeah.
But because I'm not trying to be perfect. I couldn't be perfect if I tried. But it's the spirit that's really important.
That's true.
So. And then at the end of the tour, we did a concert at William Patterson College, and they had a great built-in studio on the stage.
Oh, okay.
And as we were playing, about 5 people walked out.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was really into it. You listen to it again. I was really into a Coltrane, trying to.
Yeah, but you're burning. It's like take the Coltrane.
Yeah, I was trying to sum up my research on him.
Yeah.
On that album,
Yeah.
And then. I shouldn't say it because I'm the most modest guy you'll ever meet, but Reggie said, told someone there, he said, Hal's ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I got sun coming in through the window. Let me close this.
Sure. No worries.
Thank you. Been a great day today. So, and then after that, Rashid and I started getting together on Monday nights during the summer. I'd come into New York, and we go and play at his place. He had the studio in the basement.
Like duo?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he was a sweet cat. I really, and we were developing I'm kind of old to be getting new friends, but we were developing a friendship, and we get down there and smoke a lot of reefer, and then he'd say, "Hey Hal, let's go play that fucked up shit of yours."
That's so cool.
And we just play for hours and hours, and it was really great because it gave me a chance to explore Coltrane's thing more, Yeah. And he knew exactly what I was doing.
Yeah.
And Reggie knew exactly what I was doing. I mean, they were masters, and they were Coltrane's rhythm section. I couldn't go wrong,
But did you, Hal? Did you ever see them live, like back in the 50s, like Coltrane?
For a second, when I was hiding out in Philadelphia, and I got to hear them playing. I can't think of the name of the club.
Yeah.
I walked in there. I don't know why I didn't stay. I heard a little bit of it, and I left. But I never heard them on. No, I didn't, except for that little moment.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. But did you ask those guys like Reggie and Rashid about playing with Coltrane? Did you guys talk about it or never?
Don't talk about the music.
The music, yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
If you got to tell somebody what to do, you might as well get somebody else.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. No, but
Mike and Randy. That's why it was so great about Mike and Randy. I never told them what to do.
Yeah.
Never. I didn't have to.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Michael and Randy, I wanted to ask you, how did you meet those two guys? How was the connection?
Well, Randy had it was in the early days in New York City, and Randy had a gig at a club called La Intrigue uptown, maybe West 72nd Street. Mm-hmm. And it was on the second floor, it was a mafia club. And on the first floor was the jazz club. On the second floor was a gay club, which was mainly where their business was. And the jazz club was run by this woman. And Randy had a steady gig there, and he called me, and we had that gig for 9 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it was like, I don't remember. I have to go look back at my date books. I don't think they go back that far. But it was a great gig. Steve Schaefer was the drummer. He's still alive. The bass player is not Gaylor. No. Damn, can't think of his name. It was a great rhythm section.
Yeah.
And so we got to know each other then. He was really young, and we clicked right away. And I had his recordings coming up.
Yeah.
And Mike had just left Indiana University to come to town. He says, "Wow, you think I can play? Where do you hear my brother, my younger brother?" So that's how we met. I met him on my first record day, Guerrilla Band.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was history after that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I saw I just watched today a recording. I don't know if you've seen that, like from 1977, your quintet from Berlin Jazz Festival. Did you see that? Yes,
it's coming out at the end of the year.
It's like, Hey Fool, and This Is the Thing. When you guys play it, it's just like, it's, and Bob Moses on drums, he's killing it, man. It's like,
killing. It's nuts.
Such a band, and it's like you guys been doing it for 10 years probably, right? Then
yeah. Well, we actually played together about 3 years.
3 years. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it was we were looking for an edge that didn't exist.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
It wasn't there, but we were looking for it anyway. We were trying to be as edgy as we could.
Definitely.
It's a great experience. It was a great experience playing with both of them.
Yeah. And especially your record.
I thought 1970, the Berlin thing. I'm just working on correcting some liner notes, and I've got to check my date books.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember the sequence of when we did what exactly. I'm terrible on chronology, but I think we did that after Speak with a Single Voice.
Yeah.
And I think that was first because the music that was a live recording in a club, but it was early days, and we were still getting familiar with what we're doing. And the rhythm section hadn't quite figured out how our style, what we were going to do, what we were looking. We didn't figure that out until we played in Sweet Basil's one night. And we said, okay, we're playing an 8/8 with a triplet feeling underneath it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and it clicked, And as I remember Dockery saying, well, now all we got to do is get over our insecurities. Anyway, so the 77 Berlin thing, I think it shows the band at its loosest.
Yeah, but still it's like it's burning, like, well, like the records like Reach Out and all that. It's like you can already feel it there, but when you see the stretching out that you do live, that's so beautiful, Yeah. But and I just wanted to go back to the first records you guys did. Like in 1969, you did Score, right, with Randy, and
that's where I met Mike.
On that session.
Yeah. That was an 8-hour session.
That was it.
Yeah, 8 hours. Yeah, all continuing.
Wow. But you wrote also three tunes, right? Like Vamp and Score. Did Randy ask you to do that, or did you just bring it to the group? Or he needed tunes for the record. Tunes. Yeah.
And he knew I wrote.
Yeah.
The fact that I wrote was always something that I had in my kit bag that helped me a lot throughout my career, because a lot of the band leaders I played with didn't write, and they were looking for a sideman who did,
who can write.
So we recorded them, and then Wild Bird, I had actually a regional hit on the West Coast with that This Moment. Really getting a lot of airplay, but Mainstream Records was basically a mob laundering scheme.
Oh my God!
And what they were doing was building a catalog.
Yeah.
To sell. And when they finally filled the catalog, some 350 recordings maybe, or 500 recordings on the Mainstream.
Wow.
They sold that catalog 5 times.
Wow.
You can only sell a catalog once.
Yeah, sure.
And it took years for them to figure out what was it for the Shad family, for his daughter to get the rights to that album back and work it out. It must have taken 20 years to work out all the complications. You know?
Yeah. No, but those records are so good. Like, I think the 70s, when I look at the records you did in the 70s already, that's amazing. You're like, you were still like in your 30s, right? And in the 70s.
I guess so. Like I said, I'm not good at chronology.
Yeah, but and you did like, all these incredible records. Like, can I ask you just about Inner Journey? How did that one happen? Like with Dave and.
That was my first Angel record.
Yeah, Bill Goodwin. It's like amazing.
Oh no, Tony Williams.
No, on isn't it Bill Goodwin? No, on Inner Journey.
You're talking about Now Had This?
No, on Inner Journey.
Oh, sorry, Inner Journey. Whoa,
yeah.
Oh, Bill Goodwin. Jesus, we go beyond way back.
Yeah, really. But how did you guys hook up with Dave?
Well, first of all, Billy Hart was rehearsing for that, and he couldn't make it.
Oh, okay.
Which happens a lot with Billy. But Bill was there, and I love Bill's playing.
Yeah,
he is the essential bebop drummer.
Yeah,
everybody should listen to this guy.
Yeah,
he knows how to listen. He knows how to respond. He knows the vocabulary. He knows the concept. It's just amazing. And Dave, I don't know how that happened. I guess I just called him and he came. Yeah.
It's such a beautiful trio date, It's like the start of your amazing piano trio dates.
I listened to it recently, and it's not bad, but I froze on that record.
Really?
The only time I ever froze.
Seriously? In what sense? What do you mean? Like?
We had one tune, a samba. We had to do 25 takes.
Oh, seriously? Oh, wow.
I was so I was totally discombobulated. I could not get it. I went home and did everything I could to relax. Yeah. And the next day was a lot better. We tried it again. It was a lot better. Yeah. That was the period where I was starting to think about the electric piano, because I was not comfortable with the way. As a matter of fact, I think I was at that time, like I said, I'm so terrible with chronology. It's probably I should write it up. But I was playing it with Chet. With Stan Getz. Yeah. When I joined him, he was playing Chicksport, so the electric piano worked fine. Yeah. And I was using a Leslie organ speaker.
Oh.
It was the first recording of anybody using a Leslie organ speaker with a Fender Rhodes.
Wow.
And that was before they invented the phase shifter to duplicate that.
Yep.
So I was lugging that big thing around. Anyway,
amazing.
That album, with a trio album, I was not happy with my chops. I was not comfortable at the piano. So instead of dealing with it, I escaped to the electric piano.
No, but I think it's good. The tunes are incredible, like Joyride and that Invitation to Openness and all that. It's
Joyride.
Beautiful stuff.
25 takes it took.
Okay. No one knows it. Well, now they do, but
now they do. Well, it's a tell-all kind of conversation, I guess. The thing is, it took me a while to realize that I was shying away from my responsibilities to the piano.
Yeah.
And that's when I stopped playing electric piano. I had to make a clear decision. I'm not doing this anymore. Anything I can get out of the electric piano, I should be able to get out of the acoustic piano.
Yeah.
So I went back to it and went back into the shed again for the second time or third time in my life, Yeah. The fourth time was in 2000. Where I went back into the shed again to do the rubato thing.
Yeah.
So, incredible. But I felt I feel really good about the piano now. I mean, I can just think it and do it. So
Yeah,
which is
definitely.
a lot of fun. Yeah. So I've achieved that goal.
Yeah.
So that was the electric piano thing.
Yeah, no, but still, it's I love those records. I mean, you mentioned also now Hear This with Tony and Cecil. Cecil is incredible. I mean, when
My
people
homeboy,
talk
Tony.
and Terumasa, Hino, yeah. Like, but how did that date happen with Tony?
Well, I mean, Tony and I, he's from Boston. I'm from Boston. We came up together.
Oh, really? Oh, wow! I didn't know
Oh,
that.
yeah. I was playing with him when he couldn't reach the pedals. I think he was 12 years old.
Seriously?
And I used to work with his dad, T. He played alto, and he would get gigs and call me, and then he'd bring Tony in to sit in, And
Oh, wow!
he was into Philly Joe. They had a good cymbal beat. He was snappy dress up. He was trying to grow a mustache.
Yeah.
And it was great. One time, Tony always had a problem with his fours coming out of him, and so his T used to make him play fours. So we're playing one song, and as we're playing, T says, "Tony, play some fours," and they're talking to each other. He says, Dad, I don't want to play any fours. The music's still going on, And T says, "Tony, play some fours." I said, "Dad, no, I'm not going to play any fours." And he says, "Tony, play some fucking fours." Boom, 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 boom. It was great. And then we played together with Sam Rivers for years.
Yeah.
And then he took what we were doing with Sam Rivers into the Miles first quintet.
Quintet, yeah, incredible.
Second quintet.
Yeah, sure.
Playing free on tunes.
Yeah. Oh, incredible.
Which not many people have been doing, So that's what we did with Sam for 6 years. So
yeah, how was it like? This new conception that you did with Sam. How was it like to play with Sam?
he was my postgraduate work.
I mean, because he's one of the most underrated. Well, maybe not, but like wider speaking players in a sense, right?
He's a genius.
Yeah,
he was ahead of his time. When I came up on the scene, he wasn't in Boston at the time. He was what we call away. I won't go into that in any detail.
Okay, sure.
But I heard a lot about him, and I just had a feeling about him. And it was always there was this rumor about Sam's practice books. Now, practice books is something I don't see anymore, but everybody that I knew when I was coming up had their own, didn't buy exercise books. They made their own.
Like kind of etudes and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, licks, lines, exercises, whatever.
Wow. Okay. So
when Sam came back to town, it was like we were married from the instant.
Yeah.
So what Sam would do is he'd get a gig as a sideman in a club and hook up with the owner, get really tight with the owner. Then he'd fire the band and hire us.
That's nasty. Okay, but yeah.
No, that's the business.
Yeah.
Or what they call a business anyway.
Yeah.
And then in the 6 years, it was like amazing experience. He pushed the limits.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm sitting up in his house one day, and he's practicing. He had a railroad flat, which is a long hallway, and the rooms were off the side. And one end was the living room, the other end was the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And he was practicing walking up and down the hallway. And I was sitting there in the living room waiting for him to finish. When I looked up on the piano and I saw these green, I don't have it, 12-stage paper books.
Yeah.
Stacked. I said, "Oh my God, those are Sam's practice books that nobody has ever seen."
Wow.
So I was listening to the volume. He would walk down the hallway and get fainter and fainter until he got to the kitchen. Once he got to the kitchen, I'd get up and I grabbed 3 books.
Oh, yeah.
And I started memorizing. I only had one book, could only open one book. I was memorizing like crazy. Meanwhile, I'm hearing Sam walking down the hall closer to me, and it's getting louder and louder as he approaches the the living room, and he comes to the living room door and he sees them and he stops playing and he goes, aha! And runs over and rips them out of my hands. I said, too late, man. I got 3 pages.
That's something. That's a lot.
They lasted me years, believe me.
Yeah.
So I said, Sam, how come you don't share your knowledge? She said, man, I worked really hard to get this stuff together. Why should I give it to anybody else?
But do these books exist still somewhere, you think, or?
Huh?
Do these books still exist somewhere?
Maybe the family has them.
Oh, that would be amazing to see. Yeah.
I got a couple of his exercises still left, 12-tone exercises and stuff like that. Yeah. He really pushed the limits.
Incredible.
He would make me on the intermissions discuss our solos. I mean, he made us remember our solos, in other words. Wow, he was training us to remember our solos. And we would go over and say, all right, on the bridge, what did you play on the bridge on the third chorus when you got to the C-7?
Wow.
And you'd have to remember, incredible training. And I'd have to tell him what he did at a certain point, all right, what did I do here?
Wow.
I mean, he really, so it's very important to remember what you played in the solo, because what you play now is got to relate to what you played before,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just incredible.
That's
and
amazing.
Then Tony left to go to New York, and we had Peter Lippman playing for a while. He was an incredible drummer.
Yeah.
Then Steve Ellington joined. And
that's where you're.
I have played.
Yeah, like
Steve
40 years ago.
I still miss him. 40, 50 years we played together.
Yeah.
I still, my little brother, Steve.
Yeah, you've done a lot of music together. Yeah, definitely.
Great player, great beat, can play free, can play inside, can play out.
Yeah.
But he's one of the few drummers that I played with that had what I call the bounce. Jazz time is to me, jazz time is, at least the bebop jazz time, has got to have a bounce to it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's not just straight time.
Yeah.
And he had that, he had that. I miss it. I miss that.
Yeah. You guys did so much music.
That was for 6 years I played with Sam. And then I moved to New York. Sam moved to New York and he started Ribby. And then I followed him and we did that record date.
Yeah.
Without Phil Morrison, which was really a drag. Phil was working for the post office and he had his grandmother to take care of, and he just couldn't take any time off, to come to the date.
Yeah.
So we did the best we could, because with Steve and Phil Morrison together were just unbelievable. I mean, the beat was this big, and it was loosey goosey, and it would float around. We played flexi time. It was called. It was all within the beat, but we could play up top and
or go behind. Yeah.
So
that's incredible.
That's how that album happened, and
amazing.
And then Tony took that into Miles's band.
Miles,
not many people know that.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, that's so cool.
That's that story. Yeah.
But speaking of Tony, like you guys did that record in 1977, right? Now hear this, and I really wanted to ask, since I'm a guitar player, I just would like, Ivory Forest is one of my really favorite records, and the Rough House. I found out about you, to be honest, through Rough House, the Scofield record, and then I was like, okay, who is this guy? And because that's such a burning record. Also, the tune you wrote, triple play, and all that stuff, and it's just it's incredible. And I think Nussbaum is on the drums, right, Adam? And how did you connect?
No, what album? What album are you talking about with Nussbaum?
No,
Ivory Forest. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played piano on one track.
Cool. No.
Yeah. Well, on Boo 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 Weeda Boo Boo Continuity.
Yeah.
It had 3 parts, and I couldn't do all 3 parts.
Seriously, and
so he sat next to me and played one note. Boom, 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 doo, doo,
Okay.
boom.
But how did you meet Sco, by the way? Like, where was the connection for Scofield?
Yeah, we were playing together locally. We played at a place in Naya called the Office a lot.
Okay.
I think that's how that happened. I don't really remember how we hooked up.
Yeah.
And I don't think he remembers either.
Yeah. No, but
The Rough House album,
yeah,
is my favorite.
yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
My solo on that album is one of the best examples of my intervallic studies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it's like it's. Also, I love you were like ideal, kind of this for that Scofield period. He was really into pentatonics. I think like he still is. But
yeah.
like you were, it was like Coltrane and McCoy in some sense.
Yes.
But that's the idea I got. Like it's such a burning two records.
He when on Ivory Forest, he did a solo piece. He did a Monk solo piece.
I know. Right? That's incredible. That's one of the Monk's mood. It's wow. Yeah.
Well, Liebman got pissed at me because I had John record that because he was playing with Liebman's band and he was going to have John record that on his next album.
Oh shit!
I didn't know that.
No.
I said, John, why don't you do a solo piece? And he said, okay.
Oh, that's terrible. I mean, that's good actually, but yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. But Hal, speaking of compositions, you said you have in your bag or had always a composition, right? Like also on this Scofield, on the Rough House, you wrote triple play, I think, and like, how do you compose still, or how did you compose? Like, did you usually come up with the melody? How was your process of composing? Did you have like a daily routine, just writing down snippets, or?
There was no one single way to write a tune. It all depended on how. I used to collect. I'm talking about these practice books. Everybody that I know that was going to Berkeley at the time had two. One of them was a hot lick book, and the other one is where you wrote out exercises on the hot licks. And you always had to keep the hot lick. You had to keep your collection of hot licks ahead of your exercise book. That way, you always had a resource to go to work on something new.
Oh, that's good too.
So if ever I found a melodic fragment or something or a rhythm or whatever, I would write it in my hot lick book, not knowing when or where or how I would ever use it.
Yeah.
So some tunes you start writing and they just come out like a flow. Some other tunes you have to play the first phrase over and then play it over and then play it over until you get a suggestion of what might be possibly the general feeling for what might be next. And maybe you go look in your hot lick book and you say, wait a minute, if I take this piece here, change the key and do this to it, I can fit that in to the first melody,
Yeah.
So that was some of the other ways. The tune Spit It, which we recorded with Mike and Randy.
Yeah.
What I had was what I knew was the last line of the tune.
Oh wow! So you kind of worked your way back. Wow.
I had to work my way back by playing that last line over and over again until I could figure out what the line before that was.
Oh,
that's how I wrote that tune. But you see, luckily I studied Schillinger at Berkeley, where they do all their their analysis from the last note backwards, because you want to know how you got there.
Yeah.
Not how you started. See? So I was kind of familiar with that process. So it's never the same. Sometimes there was a tune I recorded. Can't think of the name of it, but it ended up being the basis of Soliloquy, the tune I wrote for Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I had written another tune and played a solo on it. And when I heard my solo, I said, gee, that's a great melody. And it took me forever to get it off. And I made a tune out of that, you know. So Miles used to do that too. He would take somebody's piece of somebody's solo and make a tune out of it.
Yeah.
So
I did it. I did it once or twice also, yeah.
Like I got to do that with my introduction to I'll Never Stop Loving You on the 77 album, because that's a song, you know. I made up.
Yeah, it's a song. Yeah.
Yeah. So they come to me. They come to you all kinds of different ways. Usually, not done at leisure. Done when there's a pressing reason to have a tune.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it's called the selective pressure in the brain. It makes you writing and playing is basically decision making.
Definitely, yeah.
What goes where, you know? It's decision making, and when you're soloing, it's decision making. So sometimes you need pressure to start making decisions, you know.
Yeah.
So sometimes if there's a record date coming up, I'll say, gee, I wonder if I can come up with something. And I'm still recording tunes from that era. Scofield is from that early era.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it depends on the animal. You know?
Yeah. That's a different animals. Yeah, like definitely. But can I ask you something, Hal? Like you wrote so much music as a leader, and also as a collaborator or as a side person, let's call it, like, or a collaborator more in your sense. I mean, definitely because you wrote music. If you look back at it now, like on the amount of work you did, what did you prefer being, or still nowadays, let's say, being a band leader or a sideman? What were, if you kind of like check it out, what was your view on that, or is your view on that?
Well,
it's a tough question, but
I got an answer for that. If you're a sideman, I'm usually working with someone better than me, so it's a learning experience.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, okay.
But when I'm a leader, I'm not learning anything. You know, I got to come up with what I got. You know, so I am learning other kinds of stuff being a leader, but I think that's the difference. You know, to me. In truth, well, anyway, I won't go into that now. But that's if that, I don't know if that explains the difference.
No, but go ahead, please. What do you want to say? I
mean, Chet recorded Margarine maybe 100 times.
Yeah.
And we were playing a concert in Italy, a trio concert, flute, trumpet, and me.
Oh, wow.
And he's announcing it to the tune to the crowd. He says, now we're going to play the Hal Galper composition, Margarine. And this is after 20 years of knowing him, you know, playing it with him. So I said, and I whispered to him, yeah, like in Olio. And he said, oh, Hal, you know, I never did think of that.
But you threw the bone now, Hal. But like, I know you probably talked about Chet so much, but you mentioned him now. You know,
if you start talking about Chet stories, we'll never stop. You know?
No, I just want to ask you, like, how did you get involved with Chet? Actually, like, how was your start? Where did he see? I mean, you played with him such a long time, and
he wove his way through my life, throughout my career. I loved him, man. I just love this cat. Anything he wanted, he got. You know, I was living in Boston at the time, and I knew Chet was coming next week at the Jazz Workshop, and I got a call from my friend, a bass player, Charlie LaChapelle, who is on one of I think he's on Wild Bird. He called me up and he said, Hal, Chet's coming to town. He's looking for a piano player.
Oh, wow.
So I had a week, you know. So I went all over town. I got every Chet record I could find. And I learned as many of his greatest hits as I could. you know.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday night when he was open, I was waiting at the entrance for Chet to show up of the club, and he showed up. And I introduced myself and I said, I hear you're looking for a piano player. He said, yeah, man, you want to come play with me? I said, sure. And that was it.
Wow. And
Charlie Rice on drums. And, oh, man, he just died, a bass player from Philadelphia. Just marvelous bass player. Jimmy Merritt on bass.
Yeah. Oh, really? Jimmy Merritt on bass? Wow.
A really, really bebop groove.
Yeah,
rhythm,
sure.
triplet rhythm section, just what I like. So that, after, so, and he didn't write, so, he recorded my tunes.
Yeah, I know, like Passion for Pamela or the Pamela's Passion, right? And stuff like that. This is the thing you also played, right?
Pamela's Passion wasn't that with, oh no, that was with him.
That was with Chet, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But did he ask you to contribute tunes again, or like?
He always wanted me to bring in my tunes.
Oh wow, beautiful.
So I did. I mean, I did.
Yeah.
And he played them. He played them.
Yeah.
All through his career. So I'm still trying to find the royalties for them.
Okay, that's a different story. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But and you also played then with Chet back in the 80s, in the beginning of the 80s also, right? Because there's like this recording with, I think it's with Ron Carter actually in Van Riley. Is that true?
Well,
Life in Fat Tuesdays, right?
That was a bootleg. I wasn't even supposed to be on it. I just went in. I wasn't the piano player on that gig. I just went in to see Chet and say hi. If he was in town, I would always come in and make sure that I said hi to him.
Yeah.
I just have so much respect for his playing. So I was there, and he asked me to sit in.
That's how this happened.
That was a radio broadcast from WBGH.
Yep.
And from what I found out, it was the guy who was, I don't want to get you in trouble, but the engineer took that tape and sold it to Fresh Sounds in Spain, which is noted for their bootlegs.
Yeah.
That's how that happened.
Yeah. That's no. I just saw that. I was really surprised that for that one. Yeah, I didn't kind of expect it.
It was an unintended album.
Yeah. But Hal, can I also ask you about just two other collaborators you did work with? I know I read in your one of your books, Forward Motion, that Cannonball Adderley said to you that you should always start a solo with a clear phrase that the listener can recognize and
get their attention.
Yeah, which makes sense, right? I mean, like all the greats, all you amazing guys, you always start the solo with, ta-da, Stella by Starlight. You would start ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. I don't know, whatever, go somewhere intervallically.
It had to be something that was catchy,
Yeah, and I just wanted to ask you, how was Cannonball like? What did you learn from him playing wise? And
I had never heard that idea before. So when he told me that, I went back and I researched beginnings of solos.
Oh, wow.
And I found about 10 general ways to begin a solo that I could use. Not specific, I had to leave it open-ended, but it was a general concept of opening that I could apply to any notes or any chord or any tune at the time. I learned a lot with that band. I wish I could have played with it longer, but the legacy that I left that band with was I got a big beat. It was the last of the big beat bands.
Yes,
and it's a dying art, and you can't teach it to anybody, and you can't do it alone.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it in my own trio, And John Bishop talks about it on some of Brett Prematch videos about our rubato playing. What were we talking about? I got off again.
No, just about Cannonball.
So now my beat. John talks about it. He says my beat is like a cavern.
Oh, man.
And that's one of the things that allowed me eventually later to do the rubato thing better. But
Yeah.
and I have a problem now with a lot of younger players who don't know about the big beat. They think I've got bad time because I'm playing any place on the beat that I want. You know, then
Yeah.
they start compensating because they think there's something wrong. If I was sad about anything, I miss playing that beat.
Yeah.
Can't do it alone. Can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Everybody else has got to have that beat. That rhythm section was so strong. For the first year, they kicked my ass all over the bandstand.
Oh, wow.
I was not equal to the output of energy they had.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned was that the energy you use to play is not regular energy. It's not physical energy. It's something that comes from deeper within. And it took me a year to find my way through my own psychology, as it were, to that place, that internal spot, you know, because in the beginning, I was just exhausted every night. I was beat up and exhausted. Yeah. But it took me a year to get my beat as big as them. And they were patient. They were so patient with me. They must have seen that as a possibility anyway. But that was the big takeaway from that. No one ever told me what to play on the band. I did get some advice from him, like that thing about starting a solo.
Yeah.
And one night he came in after a gig. We were all hanging out in Walter Booker's room, somewhat in our cups. And Cannon walks in, and he was in his cups. I had gotten lost that night on a tune.
Okay.
He gave a half-hour dissertation on getting lost.
Oh, wow.
And the different situations. Well, what if you're lost and they don't know it? Or what if you're lost and you don't know it? What do they do? All right. And all these possibilities, you know, well, the first two guys that agree you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't stick to your thing.
Yeah.
If you hit something, you go with it, and then it's right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, and I forgot most of it because everybody was pretty stoned. I got some of it back from Nat and Roy, but I lost a lot of it. But I did make notes.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow.
This is while I was with Cannonball.
That's from back then?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible, man.
Yeah. I'm going to write them out and do a little work on it. I'm going to add it to the book.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And he told me that. And Matt Adderley once, he said, he asked me to play more ones, which I do not play ones. You know. I said, sure, Nat, how many? The old Mozart thing. Yes, sire, how many? You know. So other than that, I've been doing since I retired. I've been doing a lot of archiving and realizing that I never really listened to myself. You know, I do a record, okay, I listen to it, but I never really listened to myself.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'm getting a view of myself. I used to think I didn't have that style, but now I'm beginning to see which maybe I really did, and I was really an asshole for thinking that. You know? But I don't think I played the gig with Cannonball correctly.
Interesting that you see.
Well, because it was a blues band, basically.
Yeah. But you had so much soul in your playing, no? Like also.
Yeah. Well, I learned how to do it there. You know, they were. I told those guys. I don't even know why I said it because I always played the blues when I was coming up. I really learned how to play the blues in Boston. You know, because I played with a lot of blues players, and it's still a large part of my playing. And I made a stupid statement saying, well, I don't know how to play the blues. And they were, oh, yeah, right, Hal, get out of here. You know. They said, it's not about the notes. It's about the feeling.
Mm.
Because I was improvising, more than I was concentrating on the feeling of the blues.
Yeah.
So eventually, my blues playing went up to another level, But I brought in music that was like was modern, and they played some modern stuff, Black Messiah and 5/4 and stuff like that. But it was still blues.
Blues oriented, yeah.
I think I played that gig. I wish I had written "Hey Fool" while I was with Cannonball. If I would be a wealthy man now. But I didn't bring in the right music. I think I didn't play that gig right. They were very patient with me. They obviously felt I had something to offer.
Yeah.
And I was playing so notey on the thing, I'm just playing line after line, my Lenny Tristano influence,
Yeah.
But I was working stuff out too, the pentatonic thing and intervallic thing.
Yeah.
And
funny
okay.
Funny, interesting that you see it like that as a member of the group. Interesting.
Yeah. I can do a retrospective and analyze what my situation was. It's really, I'm not done archiving. I've got hundreds of bootlegs that I've been digitizing.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. I got some precious things.
Oh man, this has to come out, Hal. This is.
A lot of the tapes are. I got 20 cassettes now that I'm gonna digitize, and that's a pain in the ass. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Interesting stuff. Yeah. So, but looking back, at my playing, I could have played that gig better. But you see, I finally made this assessment of myself. I'm just greedy. I just want to play a lot, and I want to improve a lot, and I want to just keep pushing it so I can get better, And that ethic kind of overrode everything else, and and I think I pissed a lot of people off with that attitude, because I was going to take advantage of every second to try to work something out, and I wasn't just going to play, because I was still learning,
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very, quite interesting.
I don't know whoever gets a chance to do that. I mean, I only recorded 106 albums. Liebman recorded 500, but with the bootlegs as well, I mean, I can really do a retrospective analysis of my playing and watch my growth and how it occurred. So really, I learned a lot about myself,
Oh, I bet, yeah.
I just never listened, and I didn't listen with the ear I have now, So, and knowing what I know,
Yeah.
So I think I could have played that gig better. I could have brought in music or written some music that would have fit in that band better. But they never said anything, and they played my music great.
Yeah.
And so.
Interesting, that you see it like that. Wow.
Great band. Great.
Yeah. But Hal, just not to take too much of your time, I just like to ask you, like, one of my favorite, bands was the band with Tom Harrell, with Phil Woods, and what you guys did in the 80s. I'm such a big fan of Tom as well, and
of course.
I just wanted to ask you, how did you get involved with Phil? And how, because like if you say like you feel like with Cannonball you don't feel like you were there, like you said now, like at least with Phil, I think you were like really on top of the game, right? That band is amazing.
Well, the way I met Phil is I was playing in a house band in Boston, in the house rhythm section.
Yeah.
Lenny's Turnpike, and he came in as a single. And when he started playing, and I was like half a beat behind him, he started playing jokes, and challenging me and playing off each other, and we really had a good time. It was great. Then a year later or two, when I went to New York, Phil had a camp called Ramblin' in Pennsylvania, a jazz camp. And Steve Marcus was there. Swanson was there. They played electronics. A lot of people. I met him in there,
Yeah.
and hung out there. But he, the first gig in New York was, I got a phone call on a Sunday afternoon from Phil saying, Saturday afternoon, saying, Hal, I got a gig at the top of the gate Sunday afternoon. You want to make it? I said, yeah,
Yeah.
So I showed up, and it was, I love it first beat,
Yeah. Wow. First
And it was
beat. That's a good one. Yeah.
It was a great gig. And since after that, we are, I had to wait. I knew I was going to get the gig with his band sooner or later. Bill was on the band, so and like I said, we went back to the early '60s together. So we were really tight. He said, "Hal, it may take a year," he says, "but you got this gig." Because they wanted to give the other piano player a chance, to do it, which I thought was great. And a year later, they called me.
Oh.
The interesting thing was, up until that point, I've been playing pentatonics. 15 years it took me to figure out pentatonics.
Yeah.
So I've been playing that way for 15 years. And we got a gig at the Bottom Line. This was early. This is when he was a quartet.
Yeah.
And the first night I was playing pentatonics. This is a bebop band, So I'm sitting the next night. I'm sitting at my pad, thinking about this problem. I said, "Oh man, I've been going up there with a preconception, because sometimes." If you're working on something, you bring a preconception with you. I mean, you're not supposed to do that,
But you do,
but you got to try some of your stuff, So I said, I'm going to get rid of. I'm not going to do that. The next night, I'm just going to go in and push the little black and white things up and down and see what happens. Shockingly, my bebop playing came out, and it had improved. As if I had been playing it for 15 years.
Yeah. Wow.
And I hadn't, which made me realize that all change is global in the brain. It just doesn't affect one part, it affects everything. That was one of the best bebop, 10 years of playing with real beboppers, second generation beboppers, my age, although I was older than most of them. It was a great bebop band.
Yeah.
I personally like the quartet more, but I loved it with Tommy as well. To play with him.
No, it's incredible. But speaking of second generation, you got basically to play also with the first generation. You played with Dizzy, right? With them.
Oh yeah.
Can I just ask you how was that?
How you're getting to my heart.
How did that happen? Can you please tell me how was it to play? I mean, he must have been a sweetheart, right? Like really nice guy.
They say that a lot of people use the word great, a great person.
Yeah.
A little loosely. I've never met one until I met Dizzy.
Oh.
He was different. When he was around, different stuff happened. Just something in the air, some kind of magic. And we had met in Perugia when I was there with Phil.
Oh, wow.
And he was staying at the La Rosetta with the band. And we started meeting each other at lunch by accident or breakfast, and he'd sit down with us. And we'd chat. He was the sweetest guy. So that's how I got to meet him. And then there was one time I was going to Europe and he was in first class. And I was in coach, and he found out I was back in coach. He came back and sat with me for the rest of the trip in coach and chatted, Got a lot of good stories about that. Anyway, then we did this tour of Europe with Phil. It was a week, and Dizzy was with us for a week.
Oh, seriously? Wow, okay.
Yeah, an album came out.
Yeah, I know about the album. I thought it was just like from one concert, not that it was a tour.
We did that in the studio.
Okay.
And he recorded one of my tunes called "Change Up," which I used in my combos in school because it was a simple tune and everybody could learn how to play it. It was kind of hip, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought, gee, you're not going to want to play this, right? And so we played it, and he loved it. That tune's made me some money, man. I'll tell you. Dizzy records one of your tunes, you're going to do okay.
Yeah.
So at one point in our concerts, Dizzy and I did a duo.
Oh, wow, beautiful.
On Con Alma.
Con Alma.
You know,
Oh, well, okay, yeah.
And I asked Dizzy on that plane trip, I said, you know, how come you're hanging out with me and so much? How come we're hooking up this? He said, Hal, I could tell we were married.
That's beautiful.
So I mean, it was to be able to play.
Yeah.
He told me, Hal, Bird invented the melodies. I invented the rhythms.
Yeah, wow.
So here I am playing with a duo with the guy who invented the rhythms.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, that's the roots right there.
Yeah, that's the roots.
So every night the duo got better and better and better.
Wow.
The last night was a phenomenon for performance.
Yeah.
The interaction, the space, comping, the whole thing, just beautiful. And at the end, Dizzy's playing a cadenza, and I'm waiting, right? Now, waiting is a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Because your brain is firing off signals saying, play, 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 right?
Yeah.
And I'm usually pretty damn good at waiting, you know. I learned how to do that. But Dizzy's doing his cadenza. And for some reason, I just hit a chord. And it was the wrong chord.
Wow.
And Dizzy made it right. And we went on to finish the tune. So he never said anything about it. He corrected it himself. And I never said anything about it. But the upshot of the whole thing is the last sound I played with Dizzy was wrong.
Oh my God.
And I got to live with that the rest of my life. I have a copy of it. You know, I'll send it to you.
Come, I have to hear that, please.
I'll send it to you.
Maybe it's not that wrong, maybe.
But here's the thing. I was never the same after that tour because of Dizzy. He turned completely around. I was always into rhythm, but I was always into all parts of it. But I was always into rhythm. You can hear the rhythmic things I was doing on my fusion album.
Yeah.
Double rhythm sections and different layers.
Yeah.
So I was always into it. But he totally turned me around and changed my focus to the rhythm. And it has changed everything.
Yeah,
everything.
I can imagine, yeah.
And I'm still working on some of the stuff that I learned from him. I wish I was playing more. I wish I could play more, but my health doesn't allow me to travel anymore. So to keep trying it, you know, I got a lot of stuff to still learn, you know. But that was a transformative experience, playing that with Dizzy. That's the kind of shit that happens when you're with a great.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I always tell my students, the key ingredient to every master I played with was awe.
Yeah, yeah.
They were just awesome to the point. I was talking about this with Jeff Johnson one day. I said, you know, I never initiated a conversation with any one of them.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Oh, you didn't do that because those guys were thinking about stuff that was like, had nothing to do with the level I was on. They were like 10 levels above me, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if we could have communicated, you know. I mean, Dizzy was a teacher, you know, and he was teaching that whole week. We took a midnight train from Gdansk to Warsaw, and he spent all night in a room with Bill and Steve, and he's showing us hand jive, all kinds of syncopated rhythms, and he showed us background rhythm lick that I use on my trio and pull out whenever I want to do as ensemble backline, you know, background the ensemble. Sure.
Incredible.
Transformative. I'm still not through learning what he learned, but it made me realize the crux of the music is the rhythm, and changed my whole point of view and the way I look at things, and the way I hear and everything. It was a highlight. It was the highlight of my career, I have to say. Playing that duo with Dizzy.
With Dizzy, yeah, that's beautiful, man.
Amazing.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks so much for sharing all that, Hal. Beautiful. It's not nice to.
He said, "Hal, the music's in the air. All you got to do is pick it out."
That's easy to say, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Here, there's a G sharp, Here.
He was talking about the zone, I think.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, definitely.
The zone, and accessing the zone. Everything is there. It's in the zone.
Yeah. See that now we started with the zone, our conversation, and we kind of finished it now. So that's a good one. So, and I think you got with your trio at least there, you kind of, where you want to be, to the zone. So that's good. Awesome. Yeah.
Now I'm still there. I can still do it. I can snap into it. Every time I sit down and play, I just snap into it. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea at all until it's over.
Yeah. Incredible. Cool, man.
Dr. Jazz.